Chapter 3. Traditions. Because England is such an old country, it has many traditions. Some of these have come from important or interesting moments in history. Some have come from other parts of the world. Others have come from England's many kings or queens, or from its long religious history. There are special days and festivals throughout the year in England, but only a few are bank holidays, days when people do not have to work. Christmas is one of the most important religious festivals in England. Christmas Day, the 25th of December, and the next day, Boxing Day, are always bank holidays, and most people spend this time with family or friends. Traditionally, people eat turkey on Christmas Day, with Brussels sprouts and cranberry sauce, and for dessert there is usually Christmas pudding, a type of cake made with dried fruit. Not long before Christmas, people decorate their houses and send cards to people they know. On Christmas Day, there are presents from friends and family, and for the children, from Father Christmas, or Santa Claus. Children believe that Father Christmas brings the presents on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, and leaves them to be opened on the morning of Christmas Day.
The very mention of Christmas brings many images into the minds of those who celebrate the joy-filled holiday. Thoughts of family gatherings, shopping sprees, Christmas lights, gift exchanges, stockings packed with sweets, Santa Claus and his reindeer, and snow-covered postcards all bring a smile to one's face if they truly enjoy the holiday season. Yet, one other very important element of the holiday should also come to mind: food. There are many different dishes associated with Christmas. So what are a few of these dishes, and how long have they been a part of the Christmas tradition? There are many foods that people living in the 21st century look forward to as part of the Christmas feast. But believe it or not, the traditional Christmas meal has changed considerably over the years. With that being said, there are a few of the modern staples that have been around for a very long time. One of the most popular dishes is known as Christmas pudding, or plum pudding. Despite the name, it is actually made with several different kinds of mixed fruits. Christmas pudding is customarily served on Christmas Day, and it dates back to medieval England. An odd tradition once associated with the dish was the practice of hiding coins inside the pudding. Whoever found a coin got to keep it. The pudding was sometimes even lit aflame before being brought to the table. Another Christmas favorite with origins from the medieval era is known as mince pie, or minced meat pie. Mince pies are a sweet dessert made by mixing fruits, spices, and different types of meat inside a tasty pastry shell. By far, the most popular meats served at Christmas time have always been ham, goose, duck, and pheasant. In the United States, turkey, a bird that is native to North America, became very popular during the 20th century. One of the most popular Christmas dessert treats is gingerbread. Gingerbread is typically made in the form of small men. In fact, gingerbread men have become one of the most recognizable symbols of the holiday. Gingerbread is also used to create small houses. The houses are commonly decorated with icing and candy. One beverage associated with the holiday is eggnog. Eggnog is a sweet beverage made with milk, sugar, and eggs. Adults sometimes also mix alcohol in with the drink. These are just a few of the traditional food items many people eat at Christmas time. As the holiday continues to grow and change, surely more dishes will be added to our Christmas traditions.
If you like our video, please share this video with your friends. If you like our video, please subscribe this channel and don't forget to press bell icon. If you want to be the first to see our video, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press bell icon for latest updates.
New Year's Eve is also important in England. Many people go to the Houses of Parliament in London to hear Big Ben, the bell inside the big clock tower, strike midnight, and to see the wonderful fireworks near the River Thames. Other people meet up with friends and family and make New Year's resolutions. They decide what things they will do or not do in the next year. On Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, people give cards or presents to the people they love.
Every February 14th, flowers and gifts are exchanged between loved ones in the name of Saint Valentine. Who is this mysterious saint, and why do we celebrate this holiday? One legend says, the emperor decided that single men were better soldiers. So, he forbade marriage. Valentine continued to perform marriages for young lovers in secret. When it was discovered, the priest was put to death. According to another legend, Valentine actually sent the first Valentine greeting. While in prison, Valentine fell in love with a young girl, his jailer's daughter. Before his death, he wrote her a letter and signed, "From your Valentine," an expression that is in use today. Nowadays, lovers express their love by presenting flowers, sweets, and greeting cards, known as Valentines. Modern Valentine's Day symbols include doves, heart-shaped outline, and the Cupid.
Here is some interesting statistics about Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, 1 billion cards are sent worldwide. Almost 85% of all Valentines are purchased by women. Valentine's Day is #1 holiday for florists. Around 15% of US women send themselves flowers on Valentine's Day. The average number of wedding proposals on Valentine's Day is 220,000.
But April Fool's Day, on the 1st of April, is a very different kind of celebration. On that day, people play jokes on their friends and family and call them an April Fool. People think April Fool's Day started because before 1562, the 1st of April was the first day of the year. In 1562, this was changed, so the 1st of January became the first day of the year. But many people were slow to remember the change, so they were laughed at for celebrating New Year's Day on the 1st of April. There is often special food for festivals in England. Shrove Tuesday, in February, comes the day before the start of Lent, the 40 days before Easter. In the past, people stopped eating the most important foods, butter, eggs and flour, during Lent. So on Shrove Tuesday, they made pancakes with these foods and ate butter, eggs and flour for the last time. People continue to eat pancakes today, and there are many pancake races around the country. People have to run, throwing pancakes up and down in a frying pan.
In the white bibs, members of the House of Lords and the House of Commons, our parliamentarians. In the red bibs, our noble friends from television, radio and print. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Morman, Member of Parliament, and Mr. James Landale for the BBC will commence hostilities. Let's count together. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Parliamentarians just pulling out slightly on the first straight. Come on, cheer them as they go. This is the second lap. Christopher Hope for the Telegraph. Go on. Ground to be made. Let Chris just run for a while. Cheer him on, ladies and gentlemen. It's nearly half. Come on, Lewis. See it. Lewis is a runner, ladies and gentlemen. Cheer Lewis on. See if he can close the gap down a bit. He's closing fast. Cheer him on. Thank you for your support, ladies and gentlemen. Cheer them on. It's time. going stand. Joe, go up for the BBC. Go, 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 Joe, Joe, Joe. Oh, sings in it. Ladies and gentlemen, a victory for the media. But a brilliant.
2, 3.
Today, many people try to give something up for Lent too, often sweets, cakes or chocolate. After Lent comes Easter, another religious festival, and for people who go to church, a very important time of year. Easter comes in the spring, and many people give each other Easter eggs and Easter bunnies, little rabbits made from chocolate. For children, there are often Easter egg hunts, when little eggs are hidden in the house or garden. People also eat hot cross buns at Easter, warm sweet bread with dried fruit inside and a cross on top. May Day in England is on the first day of May, and there is a bank holiday on or very near that day.
Every year, people across the world commemorate Labor Day on May 1st, also known as May Day. So what is the story behind this holiday? In the late 1800s, American workers faced 12-hour workdays, 7 days a week, under very difficult conditions. Eventually, labor unions had had enough, and on May 1st, 1886, hundreds of thousands of people went on strike across the country, calling for 8-hour workdays. 3 days later, a bomb went off in Chicago's Haymarket Square, the city at the center of the unrest, as tensions escalated between strikers and strike breakers, killing 7 police officers and 4 civilians. The event only sparked a stronger push for workers' rights, but it wasn't until nearly a decade later that President Cleveland signed into law Labor Day as a holiday in 1894. But in the US, the holiday was set for the first Monday in September. It was an attempt to distance any association with the Haymarket riots over fears it would fuel support for communism and other radical ideas. May Day eventually became a huge celebration in the former Soviet Union, marked by large military parades. May 1st continued to be recognized as Labor Day across the rest of the world, as the holiday was eventually embraced in
This is usually the start of warmer weather in England, and sometimes people celebrate with maypole dancing, dancing around a big pole with ribbons. Halloween, on the 31st of October, has become a popular festival in modern times. On this night, children dress up as witches, ghosts and other frightening things, and go from house to house calling trick or treat. The neighbours give them sweets and other nice things, but if they have nothing to give, the children play a trick or joke on them. A strange festival is held on the 5th of November. On that day in 1605, a man called Guy Fawkes and a group of friends tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. They wanted to do this because King James and his nobles were not treating the Catholics in the country well. But the king's soldiers found Guy Fawkes in the Houses of Parliament and stopped him and his friends. Now, on the 5th of November every year, there are bonfires and fireworks all over England on Guy Fawkes Night. Another day that is important because of something in history is Remembrance Day on the 11th of November. At 11 o'clock in the morning on that day, at exactly the time when the First World War ended in 1918, many people are silent for 2 minutes. They remember the many men and women who have lost their lives in wars. Many people wear paper poppies, red flowers on their coats at this time too. Poppies grew on the battlefields of France after the First World War ended, so they make people remember the terrible days of the war. Because kings and queens have always been so important in England's history, there are many royal traditions. One important tradition is the state opening of Parliament. On this day, the Queen goes from her home at Buckingham Palace to the Houses of Parliament in a gold carriage, and then reads the Queen's speech.
A Queen's speech without the Queen. Prince Charles, accompanied by his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, and his son Prince William, filling in for his mother, opening Parliament.
Her Majesty's government's priority is to grow and strengthen the economy and help ease the cost of living for families.
The prince did not sit on his mother's throne or wear the crown. The Queen remains the sovereign. Charles has accompanied his mother at this ceremony in the past, but this was the first time in nearly 60 years she's been absent.
The attention of all is gripped as Her Majesty mounts the dais to the throne.
Now 96 years of age, Buckingham Palace says the Queen has been suffering mobility problems.
Good morning, Your Majesty. How are you?
Well, as you can see, I can't move.
There have been other health scares. In February, the Queen tested positive for COVID.
And it does leave one very tired and exhausted, doesn't it, this horrible pandemic.
She recovered in time to attend a memorial for her late husband, Prince Philip, her only public event outside royal residences this year.
The Queen's physical health and mobility is is difficult. But mentally, she's still very agile.
Royal watchers say the Queen is still in charge, but has been handing official duties to her son more and more.
The transitionary period has been going on for a long time. The Prince of Wales has been laying the national wreath at the cenotaph for the Queen for the last few years. He deputised for her at the Commonwealth Service. He undertakes tours overseas on her behalf. Now she no longer does.
One of Prince Charles' next assignments is a trip to Canada with his wife Camilla. The next big event on the royal calendar comes in June, when Britain marks the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, 70 years on the throne and counting. Tom Parry, CBC News, London.
This tells people what the government wants to do in the next year. Another important yearly royal tradition is called Trooping the Colour. To celebrate the Queen's birthday, more than 1,000 soldiers and musicians march from Buckingham Palace to Whitehall and back again, and the Queen goes past them in her carriage.
A moment 70 years in the making. Queen Elizabeth II, Britain's longest-serving monarch, marking her time on the throne, surrounded by her family. Stoic and dignified, her lifetime of service and duty has earned her enduring respect and affection from the public. The monarch was serenaded by a Royal Air Force flypast, the spectacle a little loud for some. 4 days of national celebration started with the traditional Trooping the Colour, an annual parade celebrating the Queen's birthday and Britain's military heritage. Prince Charles rode down the Mall in place of his mother, whose recent mobility issues saw her stay in the palace. He was joined by his sister Princess Anne and son Prince William. The youngest royals, the Queen's great-grandchildren, were also on display. And while Prince Harry and his wife Meghan were excluded from the balcony appearance, they did watch the parade with other senior royals. Prince Andrew, however, wasn't present. Not everyone in Britain is a monarchist. A recent poll found support for the Crown sits at just 62%, an 11% drop from 10 years ago. But many think this might be their final chance to thank the Queen for her steadfast loyalty to the nation.
It's an incredible moment. It'll never happen again. She's done a lot for us. We want to be here to celebrate with her.
She promised at 21 that she would serve this country for as long as she lived, and she has kept to her word.
She pulls the country together. She's like our glue. And yeah, we love her. We just love her.
This crowd, and quite frankly the whole country, is festooned in Union Jack bunting and flags. But this isn't patriotism, and it's not a show of support for the institution of monarchy. This, quite simply, is a celebration of the Queen herself.
She has a very good fashion sense, and she chose good breed of dog to have for her family.
But there may well be gentlemen out there who would like to have taken her hand, and Prince Philip, God bless him, rest his soul, was one of the lucky ones.
This was the Queen's first Jubilee without her late husband Prince Philip by her side. It also follows a bout of ill health for the monarch herself and several family scandals. But in 7 decades of dramatic change across Britain and the world, Queen Elizabeth II has been the one constant. Sarah Morris.
On most days at Buckingham Palace, you can also see the changing of the guard.
So I think that it definitely has a little bit of a greater significance in that I'm just kind of filling my role that I would normally as a company second in command. For me, it's very special, and I'm just as honored, I think, as any of my other peers to be commanding the Queen's Guard on this one. It's a very special day for me.
This is when one group of soldiers who were guarding the Queen leave the palace and another group arrives. The soldiers who guard the Queen wear red coats and tall hats made from real bearskin. They can march in front of the palace, but when they are standing, they must not move. There are many important traditions in sport in England. One famous example is the Oxford and Cambridge boat race. Oxford and Cambridge are the two oldest universities in England, and because both universities are in cities with rivers, Oxford and Cambridge students have always enjoyed rowing. In rowing, 2, 4 or 8 people move a boat through water with long wooden sticks called oars. They sit with their backs towards the front of the boat, so there is often a person called a cox at the back, telling them where to go.
You're not moving right now, but you're about to move a boat longer than this bus. How heavy is that, Oliver?
The boat weighs 96 kilos.
And how heavy are you?
I weigh 102 kilos.
Times 8 plus the cogs. 5 1/4 gorillas. And you're moving that all through water. 2 kilometres, that gets you an Olympic medal. But this is the big one, 6 kilometres. But we'll talk about that later. For now, this is about taking the first stroke, using more muscle groups than any other sport.
Actually, Nordic skiing.
More muscle groups than almost any other sport. Is it just the other boat you're up against? They're a known quantity. Your lot's been fighting them since the 1820s. But right now you've got bigger battles. You've got your mind to calm. There'll be a race course that's barely fair. You'll start decided by a coin toss. There might be weather bad enough to sink the best crew. But ultimately, you've got to hear this.
The choppers above your head.
When the nerves start to come.
Am I prepared as I could have been? It's gonna be hard.
And forget it all when you hear...
In 1829, students from Oxford and Cambridge decided to have a rowing race, and since then there has been a race on the Thames every year in spring. What is traditional English food and drink? Fish and chips are probably England's most famous dish. Fish and chips first became popular in the 1860s, when the railways opened and trains began to bring fish from the east coast of England to the cities. Fish and chips are usually eaten as takeaway food, food that is not eaten in a cafe or restaurant, with the fish wrapped in paper and the chips covered in salt and vinegar. Today, Indian and Chinese takeaways are just as popular as fish and chips. England is also famous for its breakfasts. Very few people eat a full English breakfast every day, but you can usually get one in hotels or cafes. The English breakfast is toast, eggs and sausages, often with tomatoes, beans, hash browns, potato cakes, and mushrooms too. Bangers, sausages and mash, a mixture of potatoes with butter and milk, is another traditional dish in England. The sausages are often called bangers because in times of war, when food was rationed, there was usually a lot of water in the sausages. When they were fried, they often blew up. The traditional Sunday lunch is a roast dinner with roast beef, roast potatoes and Yorkshire pudding, a cooked mixture of eggs, flour and milk. However, many English people now eat fewer traditional dishes, and English people now eat lots of different kinds of food from all around the world. But some traditional English food continues to be very popular. English farmers make wonderful cheeses like Red Leicester, Cheddar and Stilton. And at farmers' markets all around the country, people can buy fantastic meat, fish, fruit, vegetables and bread. Tea, of course, is one of the most important drinks in England. And in cafes and at home, many people like to have afternoon tea, which is tea with cakes and sandwiches. English people also like to go to the pub to have a drink and perhaps to eat. These are places where people come together to talk, play games, or watch football or rugby matches. In different areas of England, there are some very strange traditions. At many fairs, you can see Morris dancing. People in costumes dancing to music with sticks, swords and handkerchiefs. In the Lake District, people have a gurning competition every year. Gurning is trying to make a very strange face. For example, by lifting the bottom of your mouth up above the top of it. And in a village near Gloucester, there is a cheese rolling competition. In which people run after a cheese which is moving like a wheel down a very big hill.